Hi, Clarity family. Welcome to your reading. The truth about what they're hiding from you. Y'all already know how we do it over here. This is not surface level tarot. We get straight into the energy. We read between the lines and we talk about the things people try very hard not to say out loud. Because sometimes the truth in a connection is not what someone tells you, it's what their energy keeps revealing. So buckle up because today we're going to tap directly into what they're hiding, what they're feeling, and what their energy keeps circling back to when it comes to you. But real quick, a lot of you have been asking me to keep my 3 questions for $33 readings open. So yes, for a limited time, I kept it available a little while longer for you. You can ask me about this relationship, your money, your career, your finances, or if you just need grounded life coaching, I got you. And listen, there are a lot of things that I can say in a personal reading that I cannot say here on YouTube. And if you know, you know. The link is in the description. All right, so let's get straight into the reading. All right, so you got 3 piles here, okay? 3 cards. Take a second, relax your mind, and choose the one that's calling your energy the most. Pile 1 is the Page of Cups with the carnelian heart crystal. Pile 2 is the Queen of Pentacles with the turquoise glass crystal. And pile 3 is the Sun with the rose quartz heart crystal. Pick the one that calmly draws you in the most. And once you got your pile, let's get straight into it. All right, pile 1, welcome to your reading. The truth they're hiding from you. Now, y'all already know how we do it over here. We're not just looking at surface level behavior, we're looking at the energy underneath the behavior because the energy always tells the real story. But real quick, before we dive in, a lot of you have asked me to keep my 3 questions for $33 reading open. So yes, for a limited time, it's still available. You can ask about this relationship, money, career, finances, whatever you need clarity on. And listen, there are a lot of things that I can say in a personal reading that I simply cannot say here on YouTube. If you know, you know. Link is in the description. All right, let's get into your energy. You were drawn here to the carnelian heart crystal and the Page of Cups. Right off the bat, this person is in their feelings about you. And the funny thing about this energy, they try very hard not to show it. But emotionally, they're not as detached as they pretend to be. Because Page of Cups energy is someone who thinks about you emotionally, but they don't always express it directly. Yes, they feel something, okay? They just don't always know what to do with what they feel. And that's where things start getting interesting. Because the truth that they're hiding isn't that they don't care. It's actually the opposite. They care more than they're comfortable admitting. Now, you got 6 more cards in this pile, and each one is going to reveal another layer of what's really happening in this connection. Because what I'm picking up in the total energetic frequency of this situation is honestly a little wild. Okay, but there's something deeper happening under the surface here, and we're about to see exactly what it is. So let's go ahead and pull your first card. All right, what is the energy as it does relate? This is card 1. You got the healer. Okay, so that's interesting. Let's go ahead and pull card 2. And then we'll channel both energies. Card 2 is a conjunction. Now, I'll explain to you what a conjunction is because this is an astrological aspect within an astrology chart. Okay, but this is crazy. Let's go ahead and tap into the energy of the healer, and then we will look at the conjunction. All right. Okay. Now, the first thing I'm picking up with this energy is that this connection has triggered healing on both sides, whether this person wants to admit that or not. And what I mean by that is this. Sometimes someone comes into your life not just to flirt, not just to pass time, but to touch something deeper in you. And the crazy thing is, the moment you show up in someone's energy like that, they can't pretend you're just another person anymore. The healer energy tells me that something about you affects this person on a deeper level. You may calm them. You may challenge them. You may even trigger them emotionally. But either way, you activate something in them. And here's the thing. They don't experience that activation with everybody. And this is where it gets interesting because people who are not ready to deal with their emotions will sometimes pull back from the very person that is helping them grow. So what they hide from you isn't always dislike. Sometimes what they hide is the fact that you affect them more than they expected. Now, let's go ahead and tap into the energy of card 2, and you got conjunction. Now, let me explain something real quick. In astrology, a conjunction happens when two planets sit very close together in a birth chart. So when that happens, their energies blend. They influence each other. They intensify each other. And the reason this is showing up here is because this connection between you and this person has the same energetic effect. Your energies don't just pass each other. They interact. They activate something. So when I combine the healer with the conjunction, what I'm seeing is this. You and this person have an energy where you are around each other. Something shifts. When you're around each other, something shifts emotionally, mentally, energetically. And they may not fully understand it, but they feel it. And sometimes when people feel something strong like that, they don't always move towards it immediately. Sometimes they observe it. Sometimes they hesitate. And sometimes they try to pretend it's not as significant as it actually is. And that right there is where this reading starts getting deeper, because we still have 4 cards to pull in this pile. And those cards are going to show us what this person is actually thinking about you, right? Why they hold certain things back, and where this connection could realistically go from here. And when I look at the total energetic frequency at the end of this reading, right, that's building in this pile already. So let me just say this. Something about this connection was not random, but we're about to see exactly why. So let's go ahead and pull card 3 and see what else this energy wants to reveal. Let's do it. All right, card 3. What is the energy as it does relate? What's coming through? You got, see, unfazed, doesn't care, didn't flinch. You can't shake me. This is you. This is your energy. This is what they're picking up about your energy. Something about you pulling your power back. It's coming through clear. unbothered. Okay? Now, listen, this is exactly what this person is picking up from you. Because something about the way you carry yourself in this connection has made it very clear that you are not someone who is easily moved, easily manipulated, or easily shaken. And that right there, that changes the entire dynamic. Because what I'm seeing here is that at some point in this interaction, you pulled your power back. Maybe you stopped engaging the same way. Maybe you stopped reacting. And maybe you stopped giving them the same level of attention. But whatever it is, the moment you shifted your energy, they noticed. Okay? They noticed. The moment you shifted your energy. And the reason they noticed is because your energy started saying, hey, I'm good either way. And let me tell you something. That kind of energy gets people attention fast. Because when someone realizes that they cannot shake you emotionally, they cannot control your reactions, they cannot easily read you, now suddenly they're looking at you differently and they're trying to figure you out. And this is where the connection starts getting interesting. Because when I look at the healer, the conjunction, and now this energy, you can't shake me, what I'm seeing is a dynamic where this person realizes that being around you actually affects them more than they affect you. Okay? And that can be intimidating for some people, especially if they are used to being the one who has the upper hand emotionally. But we're not done yet. You still have 3 more cards in this pile. And these next cards are going to show us something very important. See, because they're going to reveal what this person is doing internally about the way you affect them. Because someone can feel something very strongly. But the real question is, what are they going to do about it? So let's go ahead and pull card 4 and see where this energy is moving next. All right. Thank you, Spirit. What is the energy as it does relate? Let's see what's coming through. All right. What is the energy as it does relate? You got the Knight of Cups. A lot of cup energy drawn to the page, and now the Knight shows up. Now this right here changes the tone of the entire pile, because the Knight of Cups is someone who moves towards emotion. This is romantic energy. This is someone who feels something and wants to act on it. But here's the interesting part. Remember the energy we just saw with you can't shake me. That was you pulling your power back. That was you not reacting. That was you not chasing. And when someone steps back into their power like that, it often causes the other person to start leaning forward emotionally. So what I'm seeing here is that when you shifted your energy, this person started feeling something. Now they're curious. Now they're thinking. Now they're emotionally aware of the connection. See, because the Knight of Cups is someone who starts thinking about things like, should I say something? Should I reach out? Should I express how I feel? But remember, the title of this reading is The Truth They're Hiding from You. So even though this person may feel emotionally drawn to you, they are still figuring out how vulnerable they're willing to be. Because the Knight of Cups can be romantic, yes, but they can also be cautious about revealing too much too soon. Especially if they're not sure how the other person will respond. And with the energy you're carrying right now, calm, unbothered, unshakable, they may feel like they have to approach you carefully, but we're not done yet. You still have two more cards in this pile. And these next two cards are going to reveal something very important. See, because they're going to show us whether this person actually moves forward, whether they actually move forward or moves towards you, or if they stay stuck in their feelings. Because feeling something is one thing, but acting on it, that's a completely different story. So let's go ahead and pull card 5 and see what the energy says next. Let's do it. All right. What is the energy as it does relate? Let's see what's coming through. Okay, you got the Ten of Pentacles. Now, this is earth energy. This is physical. Anytime you see pentacle or coin energy, it's physical, it's earth. Now, this right here is where things start getting very interesting, because remember the last card we saw was the Knight of Cups, which is emotional energy. And that's someone feeling something. But now the Ten of Pentacles, which is completely different type of movement. This is like slow energy. This is someone who does not rush. This is someone who thinks carefully before they act. So when I combine the two energies together, the Knight of Cups plus the Ten of Pentacles, what I'm seeing is someone who feels something emotionally, but moves cautiously in the physical world. So in other words, they may feel something quickly, but when it comes to actually doing something about it, they slow down. And that's why this connection may feel like it has moments where the energy moves forward and then moments where it pauses, because this person doesn't want to make the wrong move. They don't want to expose their emotions too quickly. And they definitely don't want to feel rejected, especially when they're dealing with someone like you, someone whose energy says, hey, I'm good either way. Now, here's the part that's important. The Knight of Pentacles, the Ten of Pentacles is not someone who disappears, okay? This is someone who observes, who watches, who takes their time. So even when it looks like nothing is happening on the surface, this person is still paying attention, still thinking. They are still evaluating the connection. But we still have one more card before we look at the total energetic frequency of this situation. And that last card is going to show us something very important. It's going to show us what direction this energy ultimately wants to move in, because right now we see feelings, we see curiosity, we see hesitation. But the real question is, where is this actually going? So let's go ahead and pull card 6 and see what the final energy of this pile reveals. All right, so let's do it. Thank you, Spirit. Okay, what is the energy as it does relate? Let's see what's coming through. You got runaway. The card says, would you pack a bag and meet me in Hawaii? I just want to get away from the world and be alone with you. Child, listen. Okay. This card right here is the moment where everything in this pile start making sense. Because when I look at the energy of the healer, the conjunction, the energy of you can't shake me, the Knight of Cups and the Ten of Pentacles, and now run away. What I'm seeing is someone who feels something very strong emotionally, but they don't always know how to handle it in the real world. So what do? They start imagining a situation where the two of you are away from everything, away from distractions, away from pressure, away from the eyes of other people. Because sometimes when someone feels something intense from another person, for another person, the idea of being around everyone else while those feelings are building can feel overwhelming. So the fantasy becomes, what would it be like if it were just us? And that's what this energy represents. It's not always literal travel. Sometimes it's the desire to escape into the connection, to experience you without the noise of everyday life interfering. And the interesting thing about this is this energy shows that this person doesn't see you as someone casual. They see you as someone they could actually spend time with, someone they could imagine being around in a deeper way. Now, when I step back and look at the total energetic frequency of this pile, here's what I'm seeing. This is a connection where you triggered something emotional in this person. They feel it, they're aware of it, but they're still figuring out how to move toward it without losing their sense of control. Because the biggest thing this person is noticing about you is that you're not easily shaking. Okay, you're not easily shaken. You're not chasing. You're not forcing anything. And that kind of energy makes someone look at you differently. It makes them think. It makes them wonder. And sometimes it even makes them imagine possibilities that they weren't planning on imagining. And so the truth that they've been hiding is this: you affect them more than they expected. And they're still figuring out what to do with that. All right, Clarity family. If this reading resonated with you and you want deeper clarity about your specific situation, remember my 3 questions for $33 readings is still available for a limited time. And you can ask about this connection, money, career, life decisions, whatever you need clarity on. And like I said earlier, there are things that I can say in a personal reading that I simply cannot say here on YouTube. If you know, you know. And that link is in the description. Thank you for being here with me, and I'll see you in the next reading. Hi, Clarity family. Pile 2. Welcome to your reading. The truth they're hiding from you. Now listen, y'all already know how we do it over here. We don't just read cards, we read energy. We read the behavior behind the behavior, the emotion behind the silence, the truth that people try very hard to keep tucked away. Because when someone is hiding something from you, they might control their words, but they cannot control their energy. And today we're about to see exactly what this person's energy keeps revealing. So buckle up, because this pile right here, this one has already given me a very specific type of dynamic. But real quick, before we get into it, a lot of you have asked me to keep my 3 questions for $33 reading open. So yes, for a limited time, I kept it available a little while longer for you. You can ask about this relationship, your money, your career, your finances, or if you just need grounded life coaching, I got you. And listen, there are a lot of things that I can say in a personal reading that I simply cannot say here on YouTube. If you know, you know. And that link is in the description. All right, let's get straight into your energy. You were drawn here to the turquoise heart crystal and the Queen of Pentacles. Now, right off the bat, this tells me something very important about you. The Queen of Pentacles is someone who is grounded, stable, and very comfortable in their own energy. You're not someone running around looking for validation. You're not someone begging people to stay. You carry yourself like someone who already understands their value. And when someone carries that kind of energy, people notice, even if they don't say it out loud. Because Queen of Pentacles energy is the type of energy where someone looks at you and thinks, yeah, that's somebody who has their life together. You look like someone who knows who they are. You look like someone who doesn't entertain nonsense. And what's interesting about this is that the person you're dealing with is very aware of that. Because sometimes when someone recognizes that you are stable, grounded, and emotionally balanced, they start wondering if they even measure up to you. Now, you've got 6 more cards in this pile, and each one is going to reveal another layer of what this person is actually thinking and feeling about you. Because what I'm already picking up in the total energetic frequency of this pile is that this person sees you as someone very valuable. But the kind of recognition can sometimes bring admiration and sometimes bring intimidation. And we're about to see which one it is. So let's go ahead and pull card 1. All right, let's do it. What is the energy as it does relate? Let's see what's coming through. Okay. This is the heart. Card 1 is the heart. And that card just jumped out of the deck. Did you see that? So we're going to go with that. Now the energy here, card 2. You got the 2nd house. This is a house in a astrological birth chart. There are 12 houses, and I'm going to explain to you what this 2nd house represents as it does relate to the title of this reading. So let's go ahead and tap into your first card, the heart, and then we will slide here into the 2nd house. Okay, now this is where the energy gets interesting, okay? So let me say something real quick. This card literally jumped out of the deck. Did y'all see that? Okay, so whenever a card jumps out like that, I always pay attention because that means the energy is trying to be seen. This is not subtle energy. This is direct emotional energy. Now, the heart card is exactly what it sounds like. This is someone who feels something emotionally when it comes to you. But here's the interesting thing about this. When I combine the Queen of Pentacles with the heart, what I'm seeing is someone who looks at you and sees more than just attraction. They see someone who feels safe, someone who feels warm, someone who feels like the type of person you could actually build something with. And let me tell you something. When someone sees you as that kind of person, it hits differently because now they're not just looking at you like, like, oh, she's attractive. Now they're looking at you like, yeah, this is somebody real. And that kind of recognition can make someone feel things they weren't planning on feeling because the heart energy doesn't show up when someone is just casually observing you. So this shows up when someone's emotions start getting involved. So now let's go ahead and tap into the energy of card 2. You got the 2nd house. Now let me explain something real quick. In astrology, there are 12 houses in a birth chart, and each house represents a different area of life. The 2nd house represents things like value, stability, security, what someone considers important, and what someone wants to invest in. So when I combine the heart with the 2nd house, this is what I'm seeing. That this person doesn't just feel something emotionally. They see you as someone who has real value. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about the way you carry yourself, your stability, your presence, your energy. You look like someone who has their life together. And when someone encounters that kind of energy, two things can happen. They either feel inspired by it, or they can feel a little intimidated by it. Because when someone sees you as valuable, it makes them start asking themselves, am I showing up at the same level? Now, this is where the reading starts getting interesting, because you still have 4 more cards in this pile. And those cards are going to show us how this person actually views you behind the scenes, why they may hesitate to say certain things, and what direction this connection could realistically move in. Because when I look at the total energetic frequency building in this pile already, this connection is not as casual as it may appear on the surface. Something about you has made this person pay attention. But we're about to see exactly what they're going to do about it. So let's go ahead and pull card 3 and see what the energy reveals next. All right, card 3, what is the energy? As it does relay what's coming through. You got, see, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Okay. Well. All right. Now listen, this card right here changes the entire tone of the pile, because when I look at the heart, the second house, and now wolf in sheep's clothing, what I'm seeing is someone who does not show their true intentions immediately. They present themselves one way, but internally, there's something completely different going on. Now, before anybody starts jumping to conclusions, let me say something real quick. A wolf in sheep's clothing does not always mean someone is evil. Sometimes it simply means someone is hiding their true motives. They are not showing you the full picture. And when I look at the energy surrounding you, the Queen of Pentacles, I can see exactly why someone would do that. Because the Queen of Pentacles is not someone people approach carelessly. Okay? People cannot approach the Queen carelessly. You carry yourself like someone who has standards. You carry yourself like someone who is not easily fooled. And when someone feels like they're dealing with a person who is emotionally intelligent, stable, and grounded, they become very careful about how they present themselves. So what I'm picking up here is that this energy may act calm, neutral, or even casual around you, but internally, they are thinking a lot more than they show. They're observing you. They're studying you. They are trying to understand you. And sometimes when someone does that, they put on a version of themselves that feels safe to present, because they're not ready for you to see everything about them. Now, the interesting thing about this card is that wolves are also strategic. Okay? They're also strategic. They move with intention. They watch before they act. So the truth they're hiding right now may not be negative, but it is definitely not the full story. And that's exactly why we still have 3 more cards to go in this pile, because the next card is going to reveal something very important. They're going to show us what this person's real intentions are behind the mask. Because sometimes, look, when someone hides their true energy, it's because they're protecting themselves. But sometimes it's because they're planning their next move. And we're about to see which one this is. So let's go ahead and pull card 4 and see what the energy says next. All right, so let's go. Card 4. What is the energy? As it does relate, let's see what's coming through. All right. You got the 10 of Cups. This is water. It's emotional. Does resonate with the water zodiacs. Scorpio, Cancer, and Pisces. Now, hold on. This is where the reading takes a turn because we just saw the wolf in sheep's clothing, right? Which means someone is not showing their full hand. They're presenting themselves one way while something deeper is going on underneath. But now the 10 of Cups shows up. And the 10 of Cups is not light energy. This is one of the strongest cards when it comes to emotional fulfillment, happiness, and long-term connection. So when I look at these cards together, this is what I'm seeing. This person may not show you everything that's going on in their mind, but internally, they see you as someone who could actually fit into their life in a meaningful way. The 10 of Cups is not someone looking at you like a temporary distraction. This is someone thinking in terms of happiness, emotional fulfillment, long-term possibility, what life could actually look like with you around. Now remember the second house energy we saw earlier. That's the house of value. What someone considers important. What someone wants to invest in. So when you combined the heart, the second house, and now the 10 of Cups, what I'm seeing is someone who looks at you and sees real value in you as a person. But here's where the wolf in sheep's clothing energy comes back in. Because sometimes when someone realizes that you have the kind of energy they could actually build something with, they start moving very carefully. They don't reveal everything. They don't expose all their thoughts right away. They watch, they study, they figure out what you're about because they don't want to misplay the situation. And that's why the energy can sometimes feel confusing from the outside, because someone might act casual while internally they're imagining something way bigger than they're letting on. Now, we still have 2 cards in this pile, and those next cards are going to show us something important. They're going to reveal whether this person eventually shows their real intentions or if they keep the mask on. Because seeing someone as 10 of Cups energy is a big deal. But the real question is, do they actually move towards that feeling or do they keep it hidden? So let's go ahead and pull card 5 and see what the energy reveals next. Let's go. Thank you, Spirit. What is the energy as it does relate? Let's see what's coming through. All right. And you got gaslighting you, see? Now that's interesting. The card says, I have been lying to and gaslighting you. You weren't crazy. You were right. I just wasn't strong enough to admit it. Okay. Now listen closely. Let's talk about this for a second, because when I look at this card sitting next to wolf in sheep's clothing and the 10 of Cups, this tells me something very specific about this person. This is someone who knew what they were feeling, but instead of being honest about it, they tried to downplay it or pretend it wasn't that serious. Now, why would someone do that? Because sometimes when someone realizes they're developing real feelings for a person, especially someone they see as valuable, stable, and grounded, like the Queen of Pentacles, they panic a little. They start telling themselves things like, I'm not ready for this. This isn't serious. This is just temporary. And sometimes they even project that confusion onto the other person. So you might have felt at times like, wait a minute, am I reading this wrong? Am I imagining this connection? But the energy of this card is saying, no, you weren't imagining it. You weren't crazy. You were picking up on something that was actually happening. But this person didn't have the emotional strength at the time to acknowledge it openly. And so instead of admitting what they felt, they masked it. They put a mask on. They avoided it. They played it down. Now, when I step back and I look at this entire pile, the heart, the second house, the wolf in sheep's clothing, the 10 of cups, and now gaslighting, what I'm seeing is someone who has deeper feelings for you than they were ready to admit. And when someone feels something that strong but doesn't feel prepared to deal with it, sometimes the easiest thing to do is to pretend it's not happening. But pretending and truth are two different things. And that's exactly what this pile has been uncovering. Now, you've got one more card before we look at the total energetic frequency of this connection. And that last card is going to reveal something very important. It's going to show us what this person's energy ultimately wants to do with this connection. Because feelings are one thing. Feelings are one thing, but direction, that's something else. So let's go ahead and pull card 6 and see what the final energy of this pile reveals. All right. Here we go. What is the energy as it does relate? What's coming through? You got Queen of Wand. Fire. Creativity. Does resonate with the fire zodiacs. Sagittarius, Leo, Aries. Now listen, this card right here explains a lot. Because when I look at the Queen of Pentacles that started this pile, and now the Queen of Wands showing up at the end, what I'm seeing is your full energy. You're not just stable. You're not just grounded. You're also magnetic, confident, charismatic. And that combination right there, that gets people attention in a very serious way. Because the Queen of Pentacles is the energy of someone who has their life together. But the Queen of Wands is the energy of someone who walks into a room and people feel it immediately. That's confidence. That's presence. There's something about you that naturally draws attention. Now, imagine being someone who encounters that type of energy. Someone who looks stable, someone who looks valuable, someone who looks attractive, someone who looks confident. That combination can make someone feel like they've just encountered someone rare. And when someone feels like they've encountered something rare, sometimes their first reaction is not confidence. Sometimes the first reaction is insecurity, which brings us right back to that gaslighting energy that we saw earlier. Okay, because sometimes when someone feels intimidated by your presence, they start doing strange things. They hide their feelings. They pretend they don't care. They downplay the connection. And not because the connection isn't real, but because they don't feel secure enough to step up to it. And when I step back and I look at the entire pile now, the heart, the second house, wolf in sheep's clothing, the 10 of cups, gaslighting, and now the queen of wands. This is why the total energetic frequency of this connection, this is what the total energetic frequency of this connection looks like. This person recognized your value. They recognized your presence. They even imagined the possibility of something deeper with you. But instead of stepping into that energy confidently, they started second guessing themselves. They started hiding things. They started acting in ways that may have made you question what was actually going on. But the truth is, you weren't imagining the connection. You were reading the energy correctly. This person just didn't have the confidence at that time to stand fully in what they felt. And that's why the dynamic felt confusing, because you were dealing with someone who saw your value, but wasn't entirely sure they could match it. All right, Clarity family. If this reading resonated with you and you want deeper clarity about your specific situation, remember my 3 questions for $33 reading is still available for a limited time. You can ask about this connection, money, career, life decisions, whatever you need clarity on. And like I said earlier, there are things I can say in a personal reading that I simply cannot say here on YouTube. If you know, you know. The link is in the description. Thank you for being here with me, and I'll see you in the next reading. Hi, Clarity family. Pile 3, welcome to your reading. The truth they're hiding from you. Now listen, y'all already know how we do it over here. We don't just look at the surface of a situation. We look at the energy underneath it, because sometimes someone can smile in your face, keep things casual, act like everything is normal, while internally their mind is doing a whole lot more thinking than they're letting on. And today we're about to tap into exactly that. We're going to look at what this person is really thinking, what they feel when it comes to you, and what they're not saying out loud. So buckle up, because this pile already has very strong energy around it. But real quick, before we get into it, a lot of you have been asking me to keep my 3 questions for $33 readings open. So yes, for a limited time, I kept it available a little while longer for you. You can ask me about this relationship, your money, your career, your finances, or if you just need grounded life coaching, I got you. And listen, there are things that I can say in a personal reading that I cannot say here on YouTube. And if you know, you know. That link is in the description. All right, well, let's get straight into your energy. Now, you are drawn here to the rose quartz, heart crystal, and the sun card. Now, right away, this tells me something about the way this person experiences you, because the sun card is one of the strongest cards in tarot when it comes to joy, happiness, warmth, and emotional openness. This is the type of energy where someone thinks about you and their mind immediately goes to, that person makes me feel good. They feel lighter around you. They feel relaxed around you. It's something about your presence just shifts their mood. Now, the interesting thing about this energy is that sometimes when someone realizes that being around a person affects them that strongly, their mind starts doing something funny. And they start thinking things like, why does this person affect me like this? Why do I feel different when they're around? And why do I keep thinking about them? Because the sun energy has a way of making someone mentally revisit the connection over and over again. But here's the thing. Just because someone feels happiness around you doesn't mean they're immediately say it out loud. Sometimes they kept that realization to themselves. Sometimes they observe you. Sometimes they watch you. And sometimes they keep their thoughts private while their mind is trying to understand what's actually happening. Now, you got 6 more cards in this pile, and each one is going to reveal another layer of what this person is actually thinking and feeling about you. Because what I am already picking up in the total energetic frequency of this pile is that this person, they thinks about you more often than they would probably admit. But we're about to see exactly why. So let's go ahead and pull card 1 and see what the energy reveals next. All right. Thank you, Spirit. Card 1. What is the energy as it does relate? You got the Mentor. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pull card 2. And then we will channel both energies together. Card 2 is Gemini. Okay. So this is Gemini and astrology energy coming through. Let's go ahead and tap into the Mentor first, and then we'll slide over here to Gemini. And the card says the Butterfly. All right. So listen. This right here is interesting already. Because when the Mentor energy shows up in a reading like this, it tells me that this person looks at you in a way that is a little different than how they look at most people. Something about you makes them feel like you are someone who understands things on a deeper level. You may come across to them as someone who is wise, insightful, emotionally aware, someone who can see through situations. And when someone senses that type of energy in another person, their mind starts doing something very interesting. They start thinking, I wonder what they see when they look at me. They think thoughts like that. They think, I wonder if they can read me. I wonder if they understand me more than I realize. So the Mentor energy here shows me that this person doesn't just look at you like someone attractive. They look at you like someone who has knowledge, insight, and presence. And that can make someone think about you in a deeper way than they initially expected. Now let's go ahead and tap into the energy of card 2. You got Gemini. Now Gemini is the energy of the mind. This is communication, thoughts, curiosity, mental stimulation. But the card literally says the butterfly, which represents transformation, curiosity, movement, and someone whose mind is constantly exploring and processing information. So when I combine the Mentor with Gemini, this is what I'm seeing happening inside this person's mind. They think about conversations with you. They replay things you said. They analyze your energy. They may even catch themselves wondering, why do I keep thinking about this person? Why does their opinion matter to me? Because Gemini energy doesn't just feel things. Gemini thinks about things over and over again. And the butterfly energy also tells me something else. Something about your presence has made this person see things differently. Maybe the way you talk, maybe the way you look at situations, maybe the way you carry yourself. But whatever it is, your energy has made this person mentally pause and go, wait. That's interesting. Now, this is where the reading starts getting even more interesting because you still have 4 more cards in this pile. And those cards are going to reveal what this person actually thinks about you when you're not around, why their mind keeps returning to this connection, and what direction their thoughts are moving in when it comes to you. Because when I look at that total energetic frequency already building in this pile, this person's mind has been visiting this connection more often than they would probably admit. But we're about to see exactly why that keeps happening. So let's go. All right. Thank you, Spirit. What is the energy? All right. As it does relate, let's see what card 3 reveals. All right. You got broke ass. Y'all, do your person be feeling like this? I don't even mean to laugh because we all been there, okay? I've been there way too many times to count. But this is what's coming through, okay? Is this person a brokey? Because it's coming through. And they are wondering, do you see them in this way? Okay, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I'm not. Let me tell you what I'm picking up. Hold on, though. Don't get distracted by the name of the card because the energy behind it is actually deeper than that, okay? And listen, I'm not even laughing at the situation because we all been there. We all have been there at some point in life. Everybody has a moment where they didn't feel like they were where they were supposed to be, okay? But the reason this card is coming through in this reading is because it's showing me how this person sees themselves, not necessarily how you see them. Because remember the energy we saw earlier, the mentor and Gemini. That means that this person is thinking a lot about how you perceive them. Their mind keeps circling questions like, do they see me as successful? Do they think I have my life together? Or do they think I measure up? So when this broke ass energy shows up, what it's really pointing to is insecurity. Because this person worries about whether they are good enough in your eyes. Now, this could be about money, yes, but it can also be about something deeper than money. Sometimes someone looks at another person and thinks they're stable, they're confident, they seem like they know what they're doing in life. And when someone feels like they're still figuring things out, their mind starts telling them things like, maybe I'm not on their level. Maybe they expect more. Maybe they see me as someone who doesn't have it together. And that's exactly the kind of mental loop Gemini energy can create. They keep thinking about it, replaying it, wondering what you think about them. So what I'm picking up here is that this person may actually admire you, but at the same time, they may feel like you see things in them that they're still insecure about. And the question running through their mind is, do they see me as someone who has their life together or someone who is still trying to get there? Now, this is where the reading starts getting even more interesting because we still have 3 more cards in this pile. And those cards are going to show us something very important. They're going to reveal whether this insecurity causes this person to pull back, whether they try to prove themselves to you, or whether they start hiding parts of themselves because they feel exposed. Because right now, what I'm seeing is someone whose mind is very aware of how you might perceive them. But the real question is, what are they going to do about that feeling? So let's go ahead and pull card 4 and see what the energy reveals next. All right, let's go. What is the energy as it does relate? Let's see what's coming through. All right. Card 4 is, see, 5 of Cups. Now this is interesting for the 5 of Cups to come through right after The last card. Yeah. Okay. Worry, doubt, fear. Five of Cups showing up right after that last card. That is not random at all. So Spirit is literally layering the story here, because the Five of Cups is the energy of regret, disappointment, and emotional self-reflection. And this is the card of someone sitting there replaying situations in their head, thinking, damn, maybe I messed that up. Maybe I should have handled that differently. Maybe they saw something in me that I wasn't ready to show. And remember what we just saw with the previous energy, that this person has been thinking about how you see them, wondering if you see their weakness, wondering if you see their insecurities. And when the Five of Cups comes in right behind that, it tells me that this person has had moments where they feel like they didn't show up the right way with you. Maybe they felt awkward. Maybe they felt like they didn't have their life together enough. And maybe they felt like you were emotionally or energetically a little ahead of them. And the Five of Cups is what happens when someone goes home and sits with their thoughts. You know, that moment when somebody lays in bed at night and start thinking about an interaction they had earlier. That's the energy. They're replaying things. They are analyzing moments, and they're thinking to themselves, did I make myself look stupid? Did they notice that about me? Did I fumble that opportunity? Because the Five of Cups isn't just sadness. It's self-awareness after the fact. And the interesting thing about this card is that when someone sits in this energy long enough, two different things can happen. Either they pull back because they feel embarrassed, or they decide they need to redeem themselves. And that's exactly what the next cards are going to show us, because we still have two more cards left in this pile before we reveal the total energetic frequency of this connection. All right. And the next card is going to tell us something important. Is this person moving towards you, or are they stuck in their own head about it? Let's go ahead and pull card 5 and see what the energy reveals. Let's go. All right. Thank you, Spirit. What is the energy as it does relate? It's coming through. You got the World. The World card showing up is interesting. Now, hold on for a second, because this is where the story takes a turn. Because the World card is not small energy. This is a completion card. This is a cycle closing card. This is the card that shows up when someone is realizing that something significant has shifted inside of them. Now, think about the sequence of cards we just saw. First, we saw the mentor. They see you as someone wise, insightful, someone who sees through things. Gemini, they've been thinking about you a lot, analyzing, replaying interactions. Broke ass energy, insecurity, wondering if they measure up. Five of Cups, regret, emotional reflection. And now here comes the World. This is the moment where someone starts realizing, okay, something about this connection changed the way I see things. The World is the energy of evolution. It's the energy of someone stepping back and realizing this interaction meant more. It meant more than I expected, because the World doesn't show up for surface level situations. This card shows up when someone feels like they have learned something about themselves through another person. And honestly, Some of you watching this, you may not even realize the impact your energy had on this person. But internally, this person has been going through a bit of a mental and emotional shift. And they've been thinking about who they are, where they are in life, and whether they showed up the right way when it came to you. And because sometimes when someone meets a person who carries mentor energy, like we saw earlier, it forces them to see themselves in a way that they weren't fully ready for. And that can trigger a moment of personal awareness. Now, the question is, what happens next? Because we have one final card left before we reveal the total energetic frequency of this connection. And that last card is going to show whether this person is ready to step forward or whether they stay in their head about it. Let's go ahead and pull card 6 and see what the energy reveals next. All right, let's go. What is the energy as it does relate? And let's see what's coming through. You got lost. The card says, I feel lost without you. Wow. Okay. Now listen, this is interesting coming out after the World card, because the World card is about someone realizing something important about themselves and about the connection. But when the Lost card follows it, what this shows me is that this person has had a moment where they realize something about your presence in their life. And that realization hit them in a way they did not expect. Because earlier in the reading, we saw something very specific. We saw that this person questioned whether they were good enough in your eyes. We saw insecurity. We saw them wondering how you perceive them. We saw them replaying interactions in their head. But now with the lost energy, this is what happens when someone pulls back or when distance appears between two people. And they start realizing, wait a minute, something about that person actually grounded me. Something about their presence actually meant something. Because sometimes people don't recognize the value of someone's energy until there is distance. And that's exactly the feeling that comes through with this card. This person may have not said it, they may have not expressed it, but internally there is a part of them that feels like something feels different when they're not around. Now let's talk about the total energetic frequency of this pile. Because when I look at everything that came out here, this is not someone who looked at you and thought you were just another random person. The cards told a very specific story. This person saw you as someone insightful, someone perceptive, someone who carries presence that makes people think about themselves. And because of that, the connection triggered a lot of mental processing inside of them. They questioned themselves. They reflected. They replayed interactions. And when distance appeared, the realization came in. Your energy affected them more than they initially realized. Now, whether they admit that or not is a completely different conversation. But the energy here is showing that something about your presence, it made them stop and reflect on themselves. And that is not something that happens with just anyone. All right, Clarity family, that is your reading for today. And before we close this out, a lot of you already know this, but I'm going to say it again. For a limited time, my 3 questions for $33 reading is still open. You can ask about your relationship, your finances, your career, or if you just need grounded advice and coaching. because there are a lot of things that I can say in a personal reading that I cannot say here on YouTube. And if you know, you know. The link is in the description. Now, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for tapping into the energy with me today. And I'll see you in the next reading.